nominations. We almost doubled nominations from the year before with over 220, which was super exciting. And from there, we had 5 national winners, which is an amazing result for us in WA. And it's great to see that there are quite a few new people on here today that are keen to nominate. This year, once again, we have a mix of both WA and Eastern States judges, which I think we've done in the last couple of years to help elevate our results, which has really impacted on how we perform nationally. And I'm also excited to announce last year we added the Wellbeing Award, but that didn't go to the national awards, and this year they've introduced it nationally. So really exciting to see that that's happened. That's it from me, really. I'm going to hand over to Michelle at this point, just to give you, Michelle's been a judge for, not that we normally share who the judges are, but she's a very experienced judge and also a winner. And so I guess she's going to give you her insights into what judges are looking for, essentially, when you are preparing your nomination. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Audra. And yes, great to see everybody here. I'm feeling very privileged to have accepted the Chief Judge Award. But really, it is about looking at the criteria, and there's the kit that's been emailed out. That's your first starting point, is to look at that kit, make sure that, number one, your agency fits the criteria for the award that you are wanting to nominate for, and then reading through before you just get that full understanding of what the criteria is and the expectations of the award are. It's really important that you need to address the criteria specifically. That is exactly what the judges are focusing on. If you don't meet the criteria, then it will be judged accordingly. That's the whole focus of the awards. Keeping to the word count is also important as well. Minimizing sort of repetition within the same question. I get that sometimes what you've done can be repeated in some of the questions meeting that criteria, but just really focus on putting your best examples forward in the criteria that you're answering, and looking at submitting evidence. So, supporting documents, that evidence that show the evidence and what you have done, to meet that criteria. And really, remember, it is the Excellence Award. So it's not about what you do day to day. It's about really how have you excelled in your role? That's really what the Excellence Awards are about. It's acknowledging those people that have really gone above and beyond and excelled in their role in excellence. So it's not even necessarily about the numbers. It's really about that Excellence Award and meeting the criteria. So in some of the questions, the numbers are reflective, but, really just looking at the criteria and answering every point. AI is a thing out there in the world. Now, I'm going to presume that you won't be able to use, I call my chat Milo, you won't be able to use Milo to say, look, can you answer all these questions and put forward how I've done excellence, because Milo knows a lot about me, but he doesn't know that much about me. So, but the use of AI, we certainly encourage if you want some help with wording. But remember, AI is always a draft, so make sure you read the words and that you check that what the AI is saying is true, and again meets the criteria, because we know Milo gets a bit carried away sometimes and thinks that Milo's right on key, but I have to sort of calm Milo down a bit and bring him back to reality. So certainly the use of AI is okay in helping you draft the response, but it will come back to you to make sure that those answers meet the criteria specifically. Audra, am I right that I read that in the team awards that the total number of people now includes the offshore staff as well?
It does. So that has been updated in the awards kit. It's something that's been updated nationally, and we do go through a really stringent, what's the word? Yes, to make sure that your submission is eligible. So we will be checking those sort of details before it goes to judging.
Yeah, cool. So don't think that, there's not some checks and balances in place to make sure that what you were saying is true. There absolutely is. And it wouldn't be, it is the Excellence Awards. And I know I'll repeat that word lots, but it is a very important award. It's a very, honoured award to receive in any of the categories, to be up there in that league. And of course, then you get to go through to the national awards, which is really exciting as well. One tip I can give is sort of like breaking it down and maybe, focus on 1 or 2 questions a week rather than trying to tackle the whole submission at the one time. And if you had a crystal ball that you would be here in this space, saving information over the years, always a good tip. If you've done that, well done you. If you're not, you need to really allow yourself time to think back of what you've done over the past year that would meet that excellence, that above and beyond that really fits the criteria. So now I think it would be a perfect opportunity to hear from Nicole and Hayley on, because they are award winners with the Residential Sales Team of the Year and Marketer of the Year, and went through to the NAFE Awards as well. So very experienced. So perhaps you'd like to share sort of firstly what inspired you to enter the awards, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great to be here. I'm Nicole Jones, Director of Jones Realty and Projects. So I'm here on behalf of the Residential Sales Team of the Year for the 2 awards that Jones Realty were fortunate enough to pick up. And look, I think truthfully, this was the first year we ever entered the awards. And I think looking back in hindsight, we were probably, right in waiting, because sometimes what can happen is we all get caught up with the thought of awards and recognitions without actually having a tangible story to tell. And I think for the first time, and probably from Hayley's perspective as well, we did some really great things and chunky things within the industry that probably had built over a 4 to 5 year period, where normally we're behind the curtain and trying to build something remarkable and memorable. And this was the first year that we actually thought it's worth actually telling the story.
Yeah, I suppose to echo that, it's like getting off the runway. There's a lot of unnoteworthy stuff that you're doing, but you take bits and pieces of that. And my award in particular for Marketer of the Year was for a campaign or a project that we got to run it from complete start to finish. So we actually got to navigate a lot of the deep dive work on the project to help make marketing and sales strategies viable. So like Nicole said, sometimes we're coming in as the fixer-upper or we're running other people's strategies. This time we got to run our strategy, and that we felt we were quite proud of the results that were delivered. The developer was very happy, and for the first time I think we felt it deserved to be told.
Yeah, you make some really good comments there on that, is now the right time to put that submission in. And that's why I think it's really important that you read the criteria all the way through and have that reflection and say, is it me this year or is it me next year? And, the criteria is pretty standard year to year. So it gives you that insight on what you might need for the next year and that opportunity to gather it in. I don't want to discourage anybody from entering, but it is the Excellence Award, and it is about being in that right space to put your best foot forward. So that first discussion, is it my year this year, or is it best to wait for that opportunity to come up? That's a really, really good point. How did you demonstrate excellence in the submissions that you entered?
I don't know that excellence can be defined by the one moment. There were so many parts of it. I think this is going to sound a bit cliche, but it wasn't just Nicole and I. It was a collaborative approach with our team. Without the development being feasible, without the design being probable, without the sales demand there, without the admin processes backing all the strategies, it falls apart. And I think the one thing that we do really well at Jones is we collaborate. We're quite a small unit, and we're agile and we pivot to where things need to go. I've worked for teams before where sales and marketing can feel like two different people driving two separate cars, going to the same destination and trying to get the same result or get to the same destination. But whereas with us, we like to move things together, because unless they do, you can't get the outcome. So I think excellence for us is showing up in all the little parts that make up the bigger result. And it came through, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And look, this may not be a popular response, but in real estate, there's no shortage of egos telling everybody how good they are, right? So from our perspective, we did not want our submission to come across as that. We are very real and authentic. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's not well received, because sometimes you've got to pop a little bit of sugar and fairy floss on honesty when you're dealing with clients and developers and multi-million-dollar developments. And in this instance, it was roughly a $50 million development, and there were a lot of hard conversations that had to be had. And I think when you're putting forward your submission, it's not necessarily look at everything that's glossy that worked well, but it's here's the things that didn't work. Here's the things that we hit a brick wall with, and what did we do to overcome them? It's not things that you can jump into, like Michelle said, Milo, and say, help me through this problem. You've actually got to show something really tangible and say, come together as a team and say, did we get that client the result? Have we made an impact? If we were removed from this situation, would that client actually have got that result? If the answer is yes, they would have, then we're not the reason that that result was there. So we had to find all those moments throughout a year, which for us was probably one of the hardest years we've ever faced as a business. And because of that, we saw a different light in each person fire up, that we thought, you know what, this is something remarkable. Even though you might have your name on an award at the end of the day, the best thing for us was the recognition for all the people with a shovel in their hand doing the hard work day in and day out. And when you can tell a story of how that is built, what the result was, and it actually turned out to be something remarkable, that's where I feel the secret sauce is when you're pulling together your submissions. And I always find that if you write your submission and think, could anybody else that's putting forward a nomination write that? If the answer is yes, you need to go deeper. If it's things that you can find on your website, scrap it, go deeper. So for me, it was very much delving into places that when we're running a million miles an hour, you don't actually stop to think about. And if anybody sitting here listening today says, I don't really know what our story is in our business, I challenge that, because every single business has a story. We just don't really stop to go, what is this ethos that we're all working towards? So yeah, I think that was a key thing when we were putting forward the submissions.
I think too, just to echo one more point, underpinning all of that is about a decade plus on our side of specialising in all facets of the plan. So if you can find what you're truly specialised in within your niche, our clients look to us like we're the trainer that can get them to the podium. And we know the pathway to take, we know the training routines to take. And that's what having a specialist in your corner looks like, and it builds a lot of trust. So, and it's easy for you to talk about when you know what you're truly good at within your niche.
Yeah, it's really good. And that analogy can be across, any of the team awards, any of the individual awards as well. And I think sometimes, and I agree, there are some amazing egos in our industry, but I think sometimes the people that are doing the excellent things are too humble and not acknowledging themselves. So I think it's that real honest, just looking back over the last year and acknowledging what's happened in your world, in your role, and putting your hand up and saying that was a really difficult situation. This is how I got around it, and that fits that excellence criteria. Because when I'm judging, a lot of the excellence comes from situations that nobody would ever want to be in, but it's that working together, whether as a team award or yourself, in getting to the other end, and that's where the excellence in the service comes out into. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I don't meet that criteria at anything, then that's where you need to really take that time to reflect and look past the year and just acknowledge the good things that you've done. And if you don't feel this year's right, just doing that exercise itself is quite uplifting as well. We are looking for that, that excellence, that outside the norm of what you do in your everyday roles. How was winning the 2025 National Awards for Excellence and the 2025 REIWA Awards for Excellence and then the 2026 National Awards for Excellence? How's that impacted on your agency and your team?
Look, it's impacted us positively in a multitude of ways, and I think the biggest thing for us is Jones Realty has very much been a behind the curtain player. We've never necessarily been one to step out. You won't see any videos of us walking through properties and the wind in our hair and things like that. So we've struggled with that front-facing promotion, as you could say. So I think for us, it's very much solidified probably what a lot of our clients that have worked with us maybe already knew, but it gives it that kudos and credibility to when we do come forward with something to say, look, this is what we're suggesting and here's why. It does give things that little bit more weight. And I think as well, just from an internal perspective, and as you said, Michelle, going through the process, whether it's this year or any other year, when you actually sit down and reflect as to what everybody's done and pull together what it is that you're trying to emanate and put across, we actually gave our submission to people outside our business and said, when you read this, what do you think we stand for? And what do you think our business is here to do? Where are our points of difference? And when they read it back to us and said, well, I get this impression and that impression, and we thought, oh, that's actually not what we do. So we might need to repivot and go another way. So don't be afraid to bounce this off other people, because there are people out there that can genuinely help in this space. And from Hayley and my perspective, I'm happy for, our numbers are posted everywhere. We're in real estate. But if anyone has any individual questions or thinks, how did you answer this? Or is this too high level? Just call us. It's not an issue. We'd be more than happy to walk you through any of those questions, because again, it's for me, I actually was down south on a holiday. I took my father away down south because I haven't seen him anywhere near as much as I should. And we were sitting there having a Matzo's, and I thought, you know what, it felt like the right time to jump in and actually answer the questions, because it all comes from, for us, it's heart. And I'm sure when Michelle and the judges are reading it, they're probably used to submission after submission after submission, and you need a circuit breaker for people that are going, hang on a minute, here's our story, and it hasn't come from AI, it's got to come from you, so that they can actually feel. And if your brand name was removed, could they still tell that that was you? And if they can, then brilliant. That's the space that you need to be in when you're answering those questions.
An analytical one. I think for me, it was, we don't always look for external validation, but it actually validated that what we did push the boundaries to quantify the result that we got. I mean, Nicole and I and the team are so used to hearing no or every day. And so you're always challenged to be better, be better, be better until it's a yes or until it's a result. So I think on a day-to-day, it hasn't changed too much. It's just kind of given us a confidence platform to keep pushing forward with what we do on a day-to-day basis. But it has validated, I think, the stress test that developers often put us through to make their entire project stack up. And they do everything from pricing, design, strategy to all the processes in between. They stress test everything before it goes to market. So what you saw in an award submission on a night was probably an accumulation of 2 or 3 years worth of work in many cases to get something off the ground and knowing it inside and out.
Yeah, some really great information there, and it is very rewarding and doing. And I agree. Being in the right headspace to do it. So sometimes you'll start looking at it, and you're just not in that right space to do it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're forcing yourself to answer the question. So don't leave it to the last minute, because it is something to tell you your story you know, really honestly and with those emotions, you need to be in that headspace to get it across the way that needs to be for the criteria for the Excellence Awards. So some really great tips there, Hayley and Nicole. Thank you very much. And thanks for offering for those phone calls. I can't give you any advice on your submissions, guys, sorry. and I don't actually mark all the awards either, okay? So but no, that's great. So hopefully this has been some helpful information for you. As I said, you know, read through the criteria, make sure that your agency fits that criteria, make sure that, you know, you fit the criteria as well, and then really put that time aside just to take that review of the last year and write down all the fantastic things that you've done, as I know you all have done. And then just, you know, tell yourself, are you ready for this year, or is your year next year? But really make time to fill in the submission. It's not a quick submission. Like, those questions take a lot of time. 500 words can be a lot of words, okay? And using those 500 words is really important to be able to get your story across as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. Super excited to see all of the nominations come through this year. Obviously, nominations are open today. You've got till the 31st of this month to get them through. I'll be honest, I get a lot of calls at 3 o'clock on the 31st of July to ask if people can have an extension. The answer is absolutely not. So, yeah, as both Michelle and the girls from Jones Realty have expressed, please take the time to get your nomination prepared, and look forward to getting or receiving notice that you've become a finalist in early September. We look forward to seeing you all at the awards in November. Anything from you, Blaine, before we go?
Oh, look, I just really loved the two events. It was an amazing occasion, a great celebration of the best quality in real estate. And look, I really just want to echo the points that were made before. It's a brilliant opportunity to stop and reflect on the year that was. And if you're quite competitive as well, to set yourself some goals for the year ahead. So I think from that perspective, it's just a fast-paced industry. That's what I'm learning as I'm meeting more and more people in real estate. What a great opportunity to stop and reflect on what you've done in the last 12 months. So I would encourage everyone to do that.
Fabulous. Thanks, guys, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Audra.
Bye for now.
Thank you.